Have you ever felt so weak that even breathing feels like effort? That moment when your strength is gone, your hope is fading, and you wonder if you can take even one more step forward. Here's the truth that will change everything. Your weakness is not your enemy. In fact, it's the very place where God's power shows up most magnificently. In the next 60 seconds, you're going to discover why your breaking point is actually God's starting point. And by the end of this message, you'll understand how to access a supernatural strength that never runs dry. Let me show you exactly how God's grace transforms your deepest weakness into your greatest testimony. Welcome, beloved. I'm so grateful you're here today because this message is specifically for you. If you're new to Pray to Begin channel, I want to personally invite you to subscribe right now and turn on those notifications. This isn't just another channel. This is a community where God speaks directly into the struggles you're facing today, and I don't want you to miss a single message that could be the breakthrough you've been praying for. Before we dive deeper, I want you to do something powerful right now. Type in the comments, "I receive," just those two words, "I receive." This isn't superstition. This is an act of faith. When you declare "I receive," you're opening your heart to let God's grace flow into every weak place in your life. So go ahead, pause for just a second, and type "I receive" in the comments. Let your faith be activated right now. Now let's talk about something that every single person watching this video has experienced: weakness. Not just physical weakness, though that's part of it. I'm talking about that soul-deep exhaustion where you feel like you've got nothing left to give. That moment when you look at your problems and they look bigger than your faith. That season when you're so tired of fighting, so tired of believing, so tired of holding on, that you just want to give up. Maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe you woke up this morning and the first thought in your mind was, "I can't do this anymore." Listen to me carefully. That feeling of weakness, that sense of being at the end of yourself, is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It's not proof that your faith isn't strong enough. It's not evidence that you've failed. In fact, the Apostle Paul discovered something so revolutionary about weakness that it completely transformed how he viewed his struggles. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10, Paul shares what God told him: "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And then Paul says something that sounds absolutely crazy to our natural minds: "Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Did you catch that? When I am weak, then I am strong. This isn't just positive thinking. This isn't just trying to make yourself feel better about your struggles. This is a spiritual principle that unlocks access to supernatural power. See, when you're strong in yourself, when you're confident in your own abilities, when you think you can handle everything on your own, you're actually limiting what God can do through you. But when you come to the end of yourself, when you have no strength left, when you're completely depleted, you create space for God's power to take over. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to carry a heavy load up a steep mountain. As long as you think you can do it yourself, you'll keep struggling with that weight. Your arms will get tired. Your legs will start to shake. Eventually, you'll collapse under the burden. But the moment you admit you can't carry it, the moment you acknowledge you need help, that's when the strongest person in the universe says, "Let me carry it for you." God's grace isn't just a little boost to help you try harder. It's a complete takeover where his strength replaces your weakness entirely. The prophet Isaiah understood this truth deeply. In Isaiah chapter 40, verses 29 through 31, we read these powerful words: "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Notice what this passage reveals. Even the strongest people, even young men in their prime, will eventually grow tired and stumble. Human strength always has a limit, but those who hope in the Lord, those who put their trust in him instead of in themselves, will have their strength renewed, not just maintained, renewed. That means you can be completely empty, totally exhausted, absolutely depleted, and God can fill you up again with fresh strength. This isn't about trying harder or digging deeper into your own reserves. This is about tapping into an infinite source of power that never runs out. Right now, I want you to think about the area of your life where you feel weakest. Maybe it's your finances and you don't know how you're going to make it through another month. Maybe it's your health and your body is failing you. Maybe it's your marriage and you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working. Maybe it's your mental health and the depression or anxiety feels like it's drowning you. Maybe it's your faith itself and you're struggling to believe God even cares about what you're going through. Whatever that weak place is, I want you to know something. God is not surprised by it. He's not disappointed in you. He's not looking at you with frustration, wondering why you can't get it together. He's looking at you with compassion, and he's saying, "My grace is sufficient for you." Let's break down what grace actually means, because I think we've made it too complicated. Grace is God's unmerited favor. It's God giving you what you don't deserve and could never earn. But more than that, grace is God's enabling power. It's not just forgiveness for your sins. It's supernatural strength to do what you cannot do on your own. Grace is God saying, "I know you can't, so I will." When you understand grace this way, weakness becomes an opportunity instead of a problem. King David, a man who experienced incredible victories and devastating failures, wrote about this in Psalm 68 verse 19, "Praise be to the Lord, to God our Savior, who daily bears our burdens." Did you catch that word, daily? Not occasionally, not when you finally get your act together, not after you prove you're worthy. Daily. Every single day, God is ready to bear your burdens. Every single morning, His grace is fresh and available. Every single moment you feel weak, He is strong on your behalf. Here's what I need you to understand. Your weakness doesn't disqualify you from God's purpose. Your weakness actually positions you for God's power. Throughout the Bible, we see God choosing weak people to do mighty things. Moses had a speech impediment and thought he couldn't lead. Gideon was hiding in a winepress, terrified of his enemies, when God called him a mighty warrior. David was the youngest, smallest brother who everyone overlooked. Peter was impulsive and denied Jesus 3 times. Paul had a thorn in his flesh that God refused to remove. Every single one of these people had obvious weaknesses, yet God used them powerfully because they learned to depend on His grace rather than their own strength. Now, if you're finding value in this message, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need to hear that their weakness is not the end of their story. And make sure you're subscribed to Pray to Begin channel so you don't miss the powerful messages God has for you. Let me tell you something that might challenge you. Sometimes God allows weakness in your life specifically so you'll learn to depend on Him. I know that's hard to hear. We want God to make everything easy. We want Him to remove every struggle. But what if the struggle itself is teaching you something more valuable than comfort? What if your weakness is actually breaking your independence so you can discover the joy of complete dependence on God? Jesus Himself spoke about this principle in John chapter 15 verse 5. He said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." Nothing, that's not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. Apart from Jesus, you can do nothing that has eternal value. But when you remain in Him, when you stay connected to Him, especially in your weakness, you bear much fruit, not a little fruit. Not moderate fruit, much fruit. The key word there is remain. Remaining means staying. It means not running away when things get hard. It means not abandoning your connection to God when you feel weak. See, our natural tendency when we are struggling is to pull away from God. We think, "I'll come back to God when I get myself together. I'll pray when I feel more spiritual. I'll read my Bible when I have more faith." But that's exactly backward. Your weakness is the precise moment when you need to press into God more, not less. In Psalm 46, verse 1, we are told, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." Ever-present. That means He's available right now, in this moment, in your weakness. You don't have to wait. You don't have to clean yourself up first. You don't have to get stronger on your own before you can access His strength. He's already there, already present, already ready to help. Want to paint a picture for you? Imagine you're in a storm at sea. The waves are crashing over your boat. The wind is howling. You're exhausted from bailing out water. Your arms are burning. Your mind is panicking. You're sure you're about to sink. In that moment, you have 2 choices. You can keep trying to save yourself with your own strength, slowly drowning in the process. Or you can cry out to the one who commands the wind and the waves. Remember what happened when the disciples were in a similar situation. They woke Jesus up in a panic, and He spoke to the storm, and immediately there was complete calm. That same Jesus is in your boat right now. He's not asleep. He's not unaware. He's waiting for you to call on him. The Bible gives us a powerful promise in Isaiah 41 verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Look at all those action words. I am with you. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you. God is not passive in your weakness. He's actively working to sustain you, support you, and carry you through. But here's the part we often miss. Finding God's sustaining grace in your weakness requires a choice on your part. You have to acknowledge your weakness instead of pretending you're fine. You have to humble yourself instead of maintaining an image of having it all together. You have to ask for help instead of trying to be a hero. Pride says, I can handle this myself. Grace says, I need God's help. And the moment you make that admission, the moment you stop relying on yourself and start relying on God, that's when you'll experience a strength you never knew was possible. The Apostle Paul learned this lesson through painful experience. He begged God 3 times to remove his thorn in the flesh, whatever that weakness was, and God said no, but then God said something better than yes. He said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. God didn't remove the weakness because the weakness was serving a purpose. It was keeping Paul dependent on grace. It was preventing Paul from becoming proud. It was creating a space for God's power to shine through Paul's limitations. What if your weakness is doing the same thing for you? What if the very thing you hate most about your life right now is the thing that's keeping you connected to the source of all strength? What if God is less interested in making you comfortable and more interested in making you dependent on him? Because here's the truth. When you're strong in yourself, you take credit. When you're weak and God makes you strong, he gets the glory. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13 is a verse many people know, but we often misunderstand it. Paul writes, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We like to quote this when we're trying to motivate ourselves, but look at the context. Paul isn't talking about achieving worldly success. He's talking about being content in every circumstance, whether in plenty or in want. He's saying, I've learned to be okay with weakness and strength, with abundance and need, because Christ gives me strength for whatever I'm facing. That's sustaining grace. It's not the power to get everything you want. It's the power to endure everything you face. Think about the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. God provided manna every single day, not a month's supply at once, not a year's worth. Every day they had to depend on God for their daily bread. Why? Because God was teaching them to trust him one day at a time. He was training them to live in dependence rather than independence. Your weakness works the same way. It keeps you coming back to God daily, sometimes moment by moment, receiving fresh grace for whatever you're facing. I want you to understand something crucial. God's grace doesn't always remove your circumstances. Sometimes it sustains you through them. Paul's thorn wasn't removed. David faced years of running from Saul. Job lost everything and suffered immensely. But in every case, God's grace was sufficient. It kept them going. It held them together when everything else was falling apart. It gave them strength when they had none of their own. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, Paul writes to Timothy, You then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. Be strong in grace, not in yourself, not in your abilities, not in your circumstances. In grace, that's an active choice. You position yourself to receive grace by admitting your need, by turning to God, by trusting his promises even when you don't feel strong. The psalmist David wrote in Psalm 27, verse 13 through 14, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Even in his weakness, even in his struggles, David remained confident that he would see God's goodness. But notice he had to wait. He had to be strong. He had to take heart. Waiting in weakness while trusting God's grace requires tremendous courage. So how do you practically find God's sustaining grace in your moments of weakness? First, you stop pretending. You get honest with God about exactly how you're feeling. You tell him you're tired, scared, overwhelmed, or whatever you're experiencing. God already knows, but your honesty creates intimacy. Second, you remind yourself of God's promises. You speak them out loud. You write them down. You let them sink deep into your spirit. Third, you thank God in advance for the grace he's providing. Gratitude positions you to receive. Fourth, You take the next small step. You don't have to figure out the whole journey. You just need strength for the next step, and God's grace will meet you there. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Come to me, not come to yourself, not come to your own strength. Come to Jesus. That's where rest is found. That's where burdens become light. That's where weakness is transformed into strength. I need you to hear this. You are not too weak for God to use. You are not too broken for God to heal. You are not too far gone for God to reach. Your weakness is not a barrier to God's grace. It's an invitation. It's an opportunity. It's a doorway into experiencing God's power in ways you never could if you were strong on your own. The beauty of God's sustaining grace is that it meets you exactly where you are. You don't have to climb up to reach it. It comes down to meet you in your lowest place. It finds you in your weakness. It surrounds you in your struggle. And it never, ever runs out. As the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23 reminds us, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. New every morning. That means tomorrow you'll have fresh grace for whatever tomorrow brings. Next week, next month, next year, God's grace will still be there, still sufficient, still strong enough to carry you. Your weakness doesn't exhaust God's grace. Your struggles don't deplete his strength. His resources are infinite, and they're all available to you. So here's what I want you to take away from this message. Your weakness is not your weakness when God's strength is your foundation. Stop fighting against your limitations and start surrendering them to God. Stop trying to be strong enough on your own and start receiving the strength that only he can give. Stop seeing your weakness as failure and start seeing it as the exact place where God's glory can shine brightest through your life. Before we close, I want to ask you to do something. Hit that like button if this message spoke to you. Then go down to the comments and type blessed and ready. When you declare that you are blessed and ready, you're saying, God, I'm ready to receive your grace. I'm ready to let your strength work through my weakness. I'm ready to see you do what only you can do. So type blessed and ready right now and activate your faith. Let me leave you with this one powerful truth. The same grace that saved you is the same grace that sustains you. You didn't earn your salvation by being strong enough, and you don't maintain your relationship with God by being strong enough. From beginning to end, it's all grace, and that grace will carry you through every moment of weakness until you reach your eternal home. Please share this message with someone who needs to hear that their weakness is not the end of their story. Share it with that friend who's struggling. Share it with that family member who's about to give up. Let this message of hope reach everyone who needs to know that God's grace is sufficient. And make sure you click that notification bell so you'll be alerted every time we post a new message. Don't miss out on the word God has specifically for you. May God's sustaining grace meet you in every weak moment. May his strength be perfected in your weakness. May you discover that when you are weak, he is always, always strong. Go in peace, beloved. You are held by a grace that will never let you go.